And I got a position at the University of Michigan as an assistant professor in the Department of Molecular and Integrative Physiology, joined with the ophthalmology department.
Thank you, Elise. And Dr. Yildirim?
Okay, thank you so much for the invitation. I was born and raised in Turkey and came to the United States to do my PhD in mechanical engineering at UT Austin. And then I came to MIT for doing my postdoctoral training. Mainly, I'm developing microscopes, nonlinear microscopes, to perform high-resolution imaging and perturbations in the living brains. And then last year, with my wife, actually, we started to look for jobs, and this is kind of a two-body, job search. And we end up coming to Cleveland, Lerner Research Institute in the clinic. She was hired in the genomic medicine department, and I was hired in the neuroscience department. So that's it.
Thank you. Dr. Higuchi?
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Sei Higuchi. So I graduated pharmacy school in Japan, and I did my first postdoc in Japan for 4 years. And then I moved to United States, and I joined Columbia University 2015. And I did a second postdoc at Columbia University for 7.5 years. And from this year, so my new positions, assistant professor at St. John's University, located at Queens, started. So my research area is diabetes and obesity. Especially, I focused on intestinal lipid metabolism. So especially how intestinal lipid metabolism impact on body weight and food intake and glucose homeostasis. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Sidoli?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining, and thank you for the invitation, of course. I come from Italy, as you probably can tell from my accent. That's where I did my bachelor and master, like the equivalent of college in the United States. I did my PhD in Denmark, my postdoc at the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. And then I came to the Albert Einstein College of Medicine, where I became assistant professor in biochemistry. I work mostly with proteomics. And actually, I think I'm a good example of alternative career path. Like I became professor without any like awards or grants or any fancy papers. That I'm happy to talk more about it. It's there are multiple ways of making your way through academia if that's what you want to do. So happy to discuss more details.
Thank you. Dr. Das?
Hello, everyone, and thank you to the organizers for this invitation. So I'm Sulagna Das, and I'm originally from India. I did my PhD in neuroscience, also in India at the National Center for Brain Research. And so I came to the US for postdoc. I started at University of Connecticut Health Center. I switched fields from what I was doing in PhD, which was mostly on neuroinflammation and postnatal neurogenesis. And then I moved to more cell biology aspects of neurons as well as other cell types. And that was my first postdoc. And then I moved to Albert Einstein College of Medicine for my second postdoc with Dr. Rob Singer, and I've been continuing there. And recently, I'm a research assistant professor in the Department of Cell Biology at Einstein. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all our panelists. Now I will hand the floor to Coralie to introduce INET NYC. Please take it away, Coralie.
Thank you, Ashigol. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So you can all see my screen, hopefully.
Yes. Yes.
Great. So yeah, I would like also to thank again all the organizers and all the attendees to attend this seminar series. So it's the second event we organize, and we hope to organize many more during the year. So so before we start, we would like to say a word about INET. I don't know why I'm always at the last time happened the same. About INET, but also we are very happy to celebrate the National Postdoc Appreciation Week and start with this event to help postdoc to transition to a position as independent faculty. So we will organize other events during the week to celebrate the Postdoc Appreciation Week. So just to start, so INET is an organization run by international scientists, so mostly postdocs and students that work in the New York State area and also in the tri-state area overall. INET stands for International Networking New York City. And we provide, our aim is to provide support and professional development opportunities to STEM international scientists based in the tri-state area. And our mission is to help the community, so to help community building, facilitate connections between scientists, both in academia, but also in industry. So we are hosting different events throughout the year on different topics, including immigration, tax, information, career development, but also social events to help networking. So our board members include scientists from all research institutions in the New York State area, in New York State. And we now have more than 900 members from all nationalities who receive our newsletter every month. So if you are not a board member of INET yet, you can visit our website that is listed here, and Aishegul will list it in the chat. You can reach out to us by email and also follow us on our social media. We are very active on social media, on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And there you will get information about our coming events organized by INET, but also organized by our partners. And we also have YouTube channels where you can watch the video and the recording of all our events, most of our events. So I'm also very excited to announce that INET will become INET USA. So we are expanding and we hope to connect international scientists this time throughout the country. So we will keep you posted on that topic. And finally, I would like to say a word about our upcoming events. So this week, as I said, to celebrate the National Postdoc Appreciation Week, we are organizing our yearly getaway from the city. This time it will be hiking in Cold Spring Harbor. So it's organized on Sunday. So if you want to have more information about the event, we will also post the link of the event where you can register and have more information. And with that, I would like to thank all our members, current and past board members, our co-founders, and all the people who participated today. And I hope you will enjoy the meeting today and the discussion. So,
okay, thank you, Coralie.
Now we can
start with the questions, I guess.
Exactly.
Okay, let's get started then. And I will start with the first question to all our panelists. Okay, when and how did you decide it was time for you to start looking for a faculty position? So we can start with Dr. Das.
Hi. Yeah, so I started looking for faculty because I've been interested in academia all throughout. So and I started looking for faculty positions when I was in my second postdoc, after I published my paper, and I thought, this is a good stage. Unfortunately, I started right during the pandemic, and that was difficult because a lot of places, I interviewed, went on hiring freeze. And that's how I transitioned into this current role I am in, which is, this is a non-tenure track faculty position, but it also gives you a lot of independence to do your own research. I have written a couple of NIH grants, R21 and R01, which one of them has been funded and the other one is currently getting funded. So this has been a kind of a great platform, although it's not a tenure track, but in the non-tenure position, you can gradually transition into the tenure track. And it also gives you an opportunity to learn about the writing grants and, how to develop your independent research program. And yeah, I've been in this for the last couple of years. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else you would want me to say, or.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. And
Thank you.
Dr. Higuchi?
Yes. I decided to be a PI when I came to the United States because the science system is totally different between Japan and the United States. So research budget and research system is totally different. Because in Japan, so there is absolute hierarchy, professor, associate professor, assistant professor in the same laboratories. So in Japan, indeed, independent position is from professor around over 50 years old. I can't wait. I want to start my independent laboratory soon. And I began this job hunting after I published the paper 2020. So it was under the pandemic, and yeah, because also I was able to publish the paper, and also I got a very unique, my original idea. So this is one of the reason. And the other reason I want to be the faculty is so mentoring, because my faculty, my previous mentor, so encouraged me to always, and I experienced so mentoring to trainees, so absolutely changed the future I experienced. And I think mentoring is like pay it forward to next generation. I thought next is my turn. This is the reason I want to be a faculty. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Savier?
So yeah, for me, well, it's conjuncture of many things. The clock was ticking. You can only spend so much time in one postdoc position. So either you would have to start looking for another one or start applying. I also work with a weird critter, which are called tree shrews, and the dream faculty, was browsing faculty job, and the dream job showed up, so that it motivated me to make the application package. And once you have everything written up, it takes so time. You're like, well, it's here, I might as well keep on applying. So, and I was more or less planning on doing at least another round, just and then it worked out this time.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Yildirim?
Yeah, I think my situation also basically depending on my vibe. So we just started together, and then we got offers in the first cycle, but it was around COVID again, so that we need to apply again, I think. And then that time my wife got the offer, and then I got a fellowship, like a grant from NIH, so that I just be a little bit more flexible and then focus on here, this area to find a job. So it worked out. But I think I also waited to have some publications appeared and then, increase my visibility. But also I worked more about the networking and then trying to get to know the people from the faculties, trying to understand what they're looking for. Because in the first cycle, I think we were just looking for the websites of the advertisements and then go for it. But In the second cycle, we will focus on more the details, and then I think it helps. And I'm happy to chat on that.
Thank you. And lastly, Dr. Sidoli.
I mean, I guess like many important things in life, like you never really feel like fully ready, but you go for it when if you have a mentor with a long view, he or she will probably advise you, why don't you start looking around and start considering applying for faculty position. But obviously there are also many mentors that I would say, even legitimately, if you're doing well, they don't want to lose you. So they might wait a little longer before telling you, why don't you apply for faculty positions? And what triggered my decision was, like I say, it's a bit different from some of the experiences that you heard from the other panelists. I didn't score any grant, I didn't have any like big paper, but I felt it was time for me to look around when I realized that the work I was doing was helpful for several people. Maybe mine is a special case because I work with Proteomics, so we rely a lot on collaborative projects. At one point when I had a certain number of collaboration, I said, well, maybe I can do this on my own. And that's when I started to look around. It takes time. Sometimes it takes more than one cycle, like you just heard. So if you wait that when you're fully ready, it might, I mean, it's never too late, but it might be wise to give it a try.
Thank you very much. So I guess we will switch to a different question, but still related. Like, so when you applied, like, did you apply to specific institutions? Like you looked before and like target specific institution where you wanted to go, or you decided to apply to all jobs offer you found online? So what do you think is the best strategy? And maybe you have some advice on how to organize, because the session, the application will start soon. So if someone wants to start with an answer.
Can I start?
Of course.
Because I think that this is very critical. Yes, you know, in one side, you will get recommendations or suggestions that you can apply as many as possible. It is true. You never know. But also, you know, you should also look for the opportunities from the people, maybe your PI, your mentors, or you personally know, and then really, you know, reach out them and then let them know that you're looking for positions. And then they may give you some suggestions, or they may give you another position from another university that they know for sure that looking for someone like you. So approaching the people is very important, I think. That sometimes, yes, you believe when you read the you know, advertisement, yes, this is my, you know, dream job, but maybe they don't ideally put there, but maybe they look for someone else, or, you know, maybe different expertise that you may figure out at the end of the process, which is too late. So I think it's really important to reach out to people. You can focus on their websites. You can find out some people that maybe they went to the school in the same school that you went, or maybe they have similar or same mentors. So always, I think, good to reach out to people, to my suggestion. So spend some time on, because I heard a lot of things that, okay, you're focusing on research letter, teaching statements, etc. It is true, but it's not 100%. So another big chunk of the process is really trying to reach out these person who are in the committee or making some decisions on that.
Yeah, so networking is important component. Someone wants to add something else, like maybe Elise or Simone?
Sure. For me, I think I applied to almost 40 positions in the end. There was a lot of prioritizing. You know, you read the ad and then you're like, oh, like, this is not what I do, so there's no point in spending time there. And I think, you know, also like documenting like what they do and what they're looking for. But as a Murat mentioned, like you can have an ad that says, oh, like it's a perfect fit. And then you learn after that they were looking, I don't know, for only a marine biologist or something. So it's a lot about managing time, because once you start applying, that's, you think you're just filling a form with your name and address, and you might go crazy after the 20th one you're going to be filling. But each application is almost up to 2 hours, because you're going to have to tweak the cover letter, you're going to have to do some research, find those people in the department, stalk them, find who published in what, and so on. So it's really about prioritizing. And if there's a place where you're like, oh, I don't see myself there, just skip it. It's okay. I mean, so just try to really figure out what you want to do, and if you can picture yourself there. And once you start getting rejected, which will happen, I don't think it should be taken personally, because like Murat mentioned as well, they might have a really peculiar profile in mind. Like, we want the person that does only RNA biology in plants, and they're looking for biologists. So it's you just gotta keep at it. It's gonna happen, but gotta keep trying, and don't lose hope.
Thank you. I think Simone, you wanted.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to add. I agree with everything that has been said, and I also would like to add, like, keep in mind that there are quite a few faculty who have been hired in places where there were no open positions. So these don't, like, this is correlated to what Murat just said. Like, if a university is not like a lab looking for a postdoc, like they will always have funding, right? But they will only put them out when they feel like, okay, this is our person. We definitely need this new colleague because he or she is working on this and that, because this person would be a fantastic teammate for our department. They will find the money if they want you. So there's nothing wrong in inquiring in places where you think it's a very good fit, but there's no open position, because networking, yes, goes a long way.
If no one has something to Sulagna.
Yeah, I also agree with all that was mentioned, and I just wanted to also add, like, there are a lot of, when I was applying, there are a lot of general very open-ended searches where it's like biology or like cell biology. But so I think it's sometimes important to reach out to them, like just to get a sense of if there is something specific they have in mind, because although it's a very general search, but they still have, depending on, there is a focus in the direction of the research that they would like to. And that was based on a couple of interviews I had given that, there were more specific research that they were looking for. So it's sometimes good to kind of reach out to the chair of the search committees and understand if there is something that, they have in mind. And also, I totally agree with what Murat and Simone said, like the networking, which was difficult in the COVID, in the pandemic times, but like recently, like now things are opening up. So it's, if you're going to conferences, it's always helpful to say that you are in the job market and you are looking for positions. And this is also important when you have more geographical constraints. Like, in my case, I was looking mostly for the Northeast region. So that was a little, I was very tied down. So it's helpful to reach out as many people or in conferences to tell them that you are on the job market, and if there is anything they know or in their department or anyone else is looking, it's always turns out very helpful.
And this advice is usually very scary for introverted, right? So people who don't love to go to conferences and talk to everyone, it's understandable. At the same time, like if you put yourself in hiring committee shoes, they by instinct, they will prefer people whose name has been heard before, right? If nobody has ever heard your name, especially if they are looking for a person who works in your topic, it can come as a red flag.
So I can add some comment. So I totally agree with your the comment, but I think this is totally dependent on the persons. So in my opinions, so two type of persons, scientists can be faculty in the United States. So one is the scientists who have special technique, or the scientists who have grant or fundamental scientist. So in my case, I do not have any special techniques, and also I didn't have any grant, but I have very unique research idea and strategy. So that's why, so I applied a lot. I applied to 157, and so I got to 70 interview, and I got one official offer and two unofficial offer. So this is totally dependent on the person. If you have a special and very unique technique, you can focus on very specific institute. But if you don't have any grant or something, keep challenging. This is my advice.
Thank you for all great answers. And now, if we find a position, we have a bigger problem, I guess. So how did you prepare for your job application? So this is a big question. So, and then, and how long did it take? And do you have any special advice for attending, especially international fellows, which might be more triggered than the other people? So yeah, if anyone want to start with the question, so just take it away. Or I can invite someone. Just, yeah, go ahead, Dr.
I'll just get started. The stereotypical recommendation, I would say, is to start writing your research statement as early as possible and get feedback on it. If you have a good friend that you trust, but is in a completely different field than you, that's the person you want to give your research plan to. Most of the time you have to put, like, the way I frame it is, you're going to give this document to very clever people, but they have no idea what you're talking about. So that's, have this very broad perspective, like we mentioned earlier. It could be the whole biology department. So most of the application season is starting now. Ideally, you start writing sometime in the summer. Then you can give it to a couple of people, and then you have your research statement ready. And there's also, so this is typically 5 pages on average, but some people are going to want to have it 2 pages. Some people are going to want it to have past and current separated and so on. So you end up with a lot of tweaking around, but have like 1 5-page template for the research plan would be my recommendation. And then diversity and teaching is generally 1 page. Sometimes it's 400 words, sometimes it's, so you're going to spend a lot of time just, doing stupid editing at the end of the day. I also warn ahead of time the person that are going to be your reference, because some people are really good with that. Others are going to spend your life begging for them, like, hey, did you send my reference letter yet? Did you send my reference letter yet? So yeah, it's something to warn people ahead of time. And then plan, the ads are going to come one by one. So what most people I've seen do is have an Excel sheet, have the deadlines written on it. And then, I send my application on this date and the search closes on this end. And, I had everything in green when it was submitted, and then things started turning red slowly. And, sometimes someone will call you. So the ratio I had was like, I had 40 application. I had 5 virtual interview, like screeners, 2 on campus and 1 offer. So it was really tight for me because there was 1 opportunity in the end. So maybe the broader the net, the easier it gets, and it's never too early. I think that's really the message, because if you don't make it this year, you can try it the year after, and it's fine. And some offers open in like very late, like May and things like this. So it's just a long race.
Okay. Anyone else want to share?
So
sorry.
Oh yeah, you can go first.
Okay, thank you. So I think it was a very nice summary from Elise, that many I think challenges you always deal with. But I also would like to mention that if you can do some search on the web or talking with the people in the committee, you may also understand better whether your research can be aligned with the department or not. So that I think you can, this is my personal, comment or suggestion, you can be flexible in your research statements. Where, for example, like me, if you're developing techniques that can be applied to the brain disorders XYZ, then maybe you can focus on the specific disorder that department is very strong, but they don't have the technique that you're developing. So that is basically really maybe a suggestion that you can easily be screened out and filtered by the hundreds of people to maybe top 10, 15, because then you can have a better understanding, what they're looking for and whether you can actually, flexibly, tune your research statements. If you don't have this information, yes, you can just focus on exactly what you're thinking. But I think research statement is very important, but as I mentioned at the beginning, you should also think about what kind of institute you're applying. Do they really care about the teaching? Because if they care also about the teaching, then you should also focus on your teaching statement. For the statements, for the international people, I think I should also mention that I get a lot of help from the MIT Writing Center, as far as I remember, or Postdoc Career Development Center. They really help me a lot. We go over a lot of times these, templates, and also on my versions, they gave me some successful examples, 4 or 5 examples from different disciplines that they find out, faculty positions. So this is also very helpful, to be honest with you, for CVs, for any statements. You should also look for these opportunities or, these kind of options in your university or institute. This is also very important. Getting feedback from someone is always tricky, to be honest with you. Maybe it also aligns with the mentorship that you're getting. If you have a good mentor, these mentors are really, really willing to make you successful in your career, so give you really constructive feedback. But most of the time it may not happen. So as Elise mentioned, you may really talk with the people who are not maybe in your field, but still maybe postdoc, maybe recent assistant professors can give you really critical and constructive feedback. Yeah.
Okay, in my case, I use like 4 or 5 months. I use a very long time. So, and I showed my application to my mentor and friend working as a faculty in another institute, and I received tons of advice. So my most difficult parts was research statement and diversity and inclusion. So research statement, so my first difficulty was how can I write it? Because this is not grant writing. And also we have to show the long-term research plan, like a big picture. And also we have to show the short-term research plan, usually in 5 years. If you write a very broad research pictures, no one like it. So this is like a kind of very difficult parts. And also diversity and inclusion. So usually almost the institutes request this kind of statement. This is super difficult. Especially I came from Japan. Japan is non-diverse country. I learned what diversity is. And also I showed how I can support diverse nationality trainee and student. So that's why so you need to learn a lot. And also you can stop your experiment as a postdoc. That's why it's super, super difficult and tough time. So, but please keep challenging and applying. This is my advice.
Okay, so just before we start our breakout rooms, I just want to ask a last question. So one last word about like what would be the best, you gave a lot of good advice now, but like what would be the best advice you will have for a postdoc that is just getting ready to be on job market? And after that, we will switch to the breakout rooms and everyone can ask questions to our panelists. So,
can I?
Of course.
So 2 things. One is there is no time that you feel like you're 100% ready. I think someone also mentioned. So, and you never know the opportunities. Maybe you just, just submit your paper maybe by archive or just to the journal that you feel like, okay, it's not ready because I have never published anything. I know very, very well that many people, many of my colleagues got the job before their paper is published, but it was in by archive. So, it's also good that I think we should highlight by archive kind of things are very important that people read. And then if they like it, and if you present it, I think it's still possible to get the jobs. And then second thing is that you should really care about yourself, because since you're a postdoc, you always think about the experiments, etc., what you're doing right now in the lab. But especially if you're really in the mood of, okay, maybe it's a good time to apply, you should also give or reserve a time for this. Okay, many times you may feel like there are many applications, there are many same things, but you know that you need to tailor for the department, but you may not feel like you have time. So please allocate that time for that. And yeah, to meet with the people, maybe not in the conferences, maybe just, through maybe email discussions, etc. Approach them.
Yeah, can I say that one thing I learned is that lots of people are genuinely interested in giving you advice and helping you, right? But obviously every advice is biased, right? Because people can only say that based on their own personal experience. But still, a couple of things that I think stand let's say the bias pressure. A couple of advice that I got that turned out to be very useful. First of all, even before you decide what you want to do, one of my favorite mentors told me, if you're thinking about your next step, like you should define in your head how you define success for you. Like, so is it, do you want to become a faculty in that place because that would be success for you? Like it has to be that institution. It has to be an institution that, no matter what it is, gives you access to students. It has to be an institution that puts you closer to home. It really varies a lot depending on the person, but it's a very difficult question to answer. So it took me a long time to define in my head how would it be my application successful? Like where will I decide? Okay, this was worthwhile. So I think this was a good advice. I have one more specific regarding your application package. There are a lot of guidelines, legitimate, because of course, people who read your application package, they expect certain things. But at the same time, it's good that you be you, because if you write things that are too artificial, people are going to notice. But one good advice that I got is what you write. So people who read your application package, if they feel stupid, they are not gonna consider your application. And if you think about it, this is true for grants as well. Like, so when the steps in your career, like you write them as all disconnected, when you say, I want to do this, but I also want to do that, and it's not very clear why you want to do both. Just write simple, but consider like the logic of a person reading exactly that knows nothing about what you do. They just want to make sure that you're a person with a plan. If I have one more second, I also have a terrible advice. So the worst advice that I ever received is don't do anything you're not paid for. That's an advice I received actually more times than you can imagine. And unfortunately, that is the recipe for mediocrity. Like nobody's asking you to be in the lab all night. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, when you apply for a position, people are looking for their new colleague. So obviously, they want a colleague who can do that little extra step to work with them, to be collegial, to be a good friend even.
I can give you a short last message. So usually I say this is a scientific marriage. You know what I mean? So we are looking for the best place, and also university is looking for the person to fit. That's why I say this is a scientific marriage. So, and my last message is, so if you want to be a faculty, I think you cannot. If you decide to be a faculty in the United States, you can. This is my last message. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just add on to that. I think like especially in the US, there's like not one single path to success in academia. There are like, each person has their own trajectory. A lot of us are immigrants, have come from different fields, different backgrounds. So it's just important to kind of craft your own trajectory, which may be different from someone else's. Of course, like papers, grants, these are great things. They help you along the way. But, for some people, it might take a little longer than others. But, it's like one of my mentors always tells me, persistence is the key. So, and I think that really helps out in the end. And in that process, if you are building like a scientific community, a network, it really helps out, like, the feeling that, a lot of you are in this together. So I guess, platforms like this are very helpful, like to exchange ideas, like help out each other. So I mean, I that's all I wanted to say. Like, each one of us can have our own path towards success in academia. So, there's nothing like this has to be the way.
Thank you. So if someone wants to add something, or if not, we will switch to our breakout rooms. So we will we will have 2 breakout rooms with some of the panelists, and then all participants can attend one of the breakout rooms and ask any questions. So let me just put you in the breakout rooms. Okay. So you should see your breakout rooms now. Okay. So can you enter the breakout rooms? Ah, yeah, I see everyone leaving.
I'm sorry, I don't see my role.
Okay, let me.
Yeah, I can also enter no breakout room. It's not giving me any option.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I can't ask.
So it looks like we have an issue. Okay.
any application for permanent position.